back again to give you back again to give you another teachings from the Holy Tabernacles or the Holy Tablets. Okay, and this particular channel, I just read it. By next year, I'll be explaining it. We're at L.A.W. chapter 1, tablet 7 is the creation of your solar system. Times 238. Everything is based on 19. It says, lo, 90 and 3 billion years ago, your solar system formed out of a gigantic whirling dust cloud and gas as a result of the collapse of the great star L.A.W, the Most High, L.A.W, or El or Illa, who is known as simply Allah, Rab and Yahweh, or Hashem and Re and Anu. All these names called by all those people, but is one and the same, who created this universe and the planet called Earth for his blueprint of the physical creation. Meaning these two entities, the skies and the earth, mark the beginning of everything to come, and that it was the Spirit of the Most High that controlled everything to quicken and come into being, come to life. So he is called El-Nur, El-Samawati, Wal-Ard, which means the light of the galactical heavens and the planet Earth. This marks the time when the explosion came from combining two hydrogen atoms to make helium, and then the combination of the two gases, which led to the series of chain reactions, exploding, and the creation of Shamsa. That cloud of dust and gas existed uniform in the universe, then it began to collapse. This brought two hydrogen atoms together to form helium. Stars such as your sun stay hot because the nucleus changes in their centers as 554 million tons of hydrogen, which is called H, change into 550 million tons of helium, He, each second of your sun. The remaining 4 million exploded from the center, giving birth to sunspots or electrical storms on the sun. This was the birth of your sun, originally called Apsu, known today as Shamish or Shamsun, by the greater ruler Anu, the Most High, the highest. Between these two gases, light, fire came into being. The sun's energy comes from the changing of hydrogen H to helium He at the temperature of about 30,175,260 degrees Fahrenheit. Helium burning gives off hydrogen, which in turn makes more helium. This is what makes the sun a ball of gas, which is constantly burning. This turning of atoms caused the explosion, also called electrical storms. These storms give off sparks of hydrogen and helium to filling out into the universe. Upon being flung out into the universe, whirling at a tremendous speed, these sparks of burning gas begin to cool to a lesser degree of heat, and settle in different places within the universe. We call these planets stars and outer galaxies. And from your sun's electrical storms came the birth of your solar system, a large universe, a supernova which exploded. This is the third degree of darkness. This explosion caused the reverse action from expansion to retraction that led to collapse. This supernova was 1 billion light years away at that time. A light year is the distance light can travel in 1 year. A supernova is a cluster of stars that makes a sudden appearance in the sky, generally decreasing rapidly in brightness. Light levels travel Light travels at 186,272 feet per second over a period of 65 and 300 days. This means light travels 5,274,273,792,000 each 30 and 1,530,006 years. The supernova was a part of a cluster. All clusters move away from each other. A cluster is one of many groups which galaxies exist, 19 to be exact, on this side of the massive black hole, whose vortex open every 10 years. After collapses in its center, which is an explosion called a Big Bang, producing the sound "cha" from the word "chalek" comes. It is the same sound that each being that comes into this world remembers and says while yet a babe. Now, each universe begins expanding and growing larger until it reaches a point where it bounces off another expanding universe and begins to contract, only to collapse and explode again, creating a reconstruction new universes. Atoms and cells all do the exact same things in human bodies. It grows and expands until it collapses. You call it death. So the universe does the exact same thing. It dies. When the universe dies, it explodes and causes the reverse of expansion. The space between galaxies is always getting bigger. So billions of years ago, galaxies was closer and closer before expanding. There had to be a point of starting. This would have all the galaxies crunched together into a small place. 70 and 6 trillion years ago, the small dot or nukta exploded, and this was called the Big Bang, which caused the explosion of positive and negative forces, causing the negative and positive forces to clash into each other. By the will of L, who is outside of your time zone, making it hard for you to understand just how L exists. That was the very beginning and the time El-Saya, the time, El-Wahid, Al-Asra. It says in Holy Quran, Al-Quran, in the 13th degree, which was changed into 130 degrees, verse 1 through 3. The time of the squeezing, when Enocytes' souls will be squeezed from their bodies. Surely this is the age when The insane Innosites are overcome by defeat, except for those who are faithful and work to perfect their beings and are advocates of the facts and endure patiently. By the measurements of time, where it begins and where it ends, time does not move forward, nor has it come from behind. Time is not ascend upward, nor has it descend from above. Time is now, now is time. And we have read L.A.W, the creation, the seventh chapter. We will continue to read tablet 8, life forms of Tamat, or life forms on earth. It says, Lo, your planet called Earth is within the 18th galaxy called the Milky Way, which has millions of stars and lights from the planet called Earth. It will take 30,000 years to go from Earth through the Milky Way. The Milky Way is inside of the universe and is very minute. The light from the sun comes to Earth. Light travels from the sun in 4 minutes. Your universe contains 19 galaxies, and there are 1 billion other galaxies. The distance in your universe reaches up to 26 billion light years. Your universe is the smallest and innermost of the 7 universes which are a part of the Galactical Federation of 19 galaxies. As the universe increases, the universe gets larger and larger. Your mind cannot comprehend the circumference of the universe. It is unimaginable to you. The word that best describes it is infinity. My child, for a time it was hard for you to understand the very beginning of your existence. It was difficult for you to accept that you were made to evolve from intellect, amoeba, and fungi, amoeba and fungi. However, this was your beginning, a beginning unknown to humans. Thus, as you read this tablet, as you listen to this tablet, as you listen to these readings, you should have a great understanding of how you became who and what you are today. The first kinds of life forms on the planet were evolution of the amoeba, the fungi, and the algae that lived underwater and evolved into land. Early Earth was composed of gases, ammonia and methane, in addition to water, which is called H2O. The cooling of the Earth and the subsequent falling of the vapor rings allowed the gases to reach the waters upon the Earth. The exposure of ultraviolet rays from the sun caused these gases to form simple organic molecules. These began to form larger molecules until proteins was formed. It was this formation which ultimately resulted in the prototype of the living cells, which occurred 46 billion years ago. Now bear in mind that these chain reactions did not occur by blind chance, but only by the will of the Most High Anu. The stages after the creation of the first cell in the lab of P.I.M.P was in the location of Lamus, which is called Mars. The cells were then placed inside the Falcon deity or the dolphins. It was these cells that was transplanted and transported into the seas of the planet. This transportation involved the development of the first animals 24 billion years ago. There were a single-celled organism called protozoa. The simplest of these groups is the amoeba, a small mass of transparent protoplasm which does not even have a definite shape nor a cell wall. The first single-celled animal to originate was the amoeba, which are found in water or moist soil and reproduce asexually. This means they reproduce alone. They do not need a partner. Fungus arose from the simple cell organism and played an important role in nature. They break down the bodies of dead organisms into chemical substances that can be used by other organisms. Fungi or fungi live as parasites and reproduce either sexually or asexually. The simplest particle of life is a quark, of which atoms are composed. The atom is the smallest unit of an element that retains all of the element properties. All things are made of atoms, which are composed of quarks. It is the smallest part of any substance. This is called quantum physics. It is too small to be seen even with the most powerful electron microscope. Yet all this is in the parts of the existence. The average diameter of an atom is approximately 100 millionth of an inch. At the center of an atom is a smaller particle who's called a quark, the father of energy. This is the nucleus and dense. This is the nucleus and dense cluster of portions and neutrons of the outside of the quark. Together, the protons, which have a positive charge, and neutrons, which have no charge, are called nucleons. Outside, spinning around the nucleus in orbitals, are electrons, which have a negative charge that makes up what is called the shell of an atom. All atoms vary in the amount of protons and electrons and neutrons according to the elements to which they belong. In reality, no atom has a definite size in space and time. However, it gets its form from its surrounding electrons. Atoms are building blocks from which molecules are made, and a molecule is the smallest unit of a pure substance that can exist independently and exhibits all the properties of their substances: carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, and sulfur. These gases form in simple organic molecules, of which time these organic molecules began to form larger and larger molecules into proteins was formed. Listen, my child, concerning the recreation of the planet Earth. It was this formation which ultimately resulted in the prototype of the living organism. The stage after the creation of the first cell involved in the development of the first animals, which is called protozoa, which comes from the Greek proto, meaning first in time, and zoa from zoea, meaning animals. When producing, the protozoa splits into two separate animals or cells. Over a period of 19 million Earth years in time, these animals multiplied and diversified and evolved into many types of creatures and animal life forms. The protozoa were originally transported and planted here on the planet Earth by these beings from the planet Ritz, the Anunnaki called Elohim. And do not forget, my child, the conditions of your planet had to be right. These first atoms was made up of very simple combinations with each other. But sunlight contains energy, and this energy forced the atoms into more complicated combinations into small cells forms. This also happened on many other planets, which the same chemicals and temperatures. So there is life on many other planets. The key is bacteria. There are intelligent bacteria that help earthlings digest their food and many other positive things. There are also intelligent bacteria that hurt earthlings. Intellect bacteria do things such as make you sick. Intelligent bacteria do things such as make you sick and cause disease in humans, animals, and plants. In humans, they cause disease such as syphilis, leprosy, pneumonia, just to name a few. Most of these came into the planet from other planets, some of which are in your solar system and others that are far beyond your knowledge. You shall have knowledge. For it is this tablet that are facts beyond any doubt. Like many other simple organisms, bacteria can multiply by asexual reproduction or by binary fission. This occurs when the nucleus of one cell divides, forming two new cells or daughter cells. The exact same way a hologram can be broken into millions of parts, and each one is the same, but it is with cells. And then, my child, there are others that just live with you, never bothering you at all. The first plant life was simple plants that began as one cell organism of the classes known today as bacteria and algae. These originated in water, yet their structure and composition enable them to exist in all types of environments and conditions. Algae has bodies composed of a single cell. Algae accounts for 90% of the world's photosynthesis. Bacteria are found everywhere in water, air, soil, your bodies, and food. Many of them are helpful and necessary for your physical existence. They are also useful in the decomposition or and dissolving of solid waste. Then you have the virus. A virus is a microscopic organism that has an exceedingly simple structure compared to the nucleic acid and protein. In the case of some of the virus that live in bacteria and animal cells, this nucleic acid is generally DNA or deoxyribonucleic acid. In the virus that cause diseases of plants, the nucleic acid is usually RNA or ribonucleic acid. A virus lives in a cell of another living thing. Although viruses are small and simple, they are a major cause of disease. Some viruses infect human beings with diseases. Others infect animals or plants, and still others attack bacteria. Viruses produce diseases in an organism by damaging some of its cells. However, viruses sometimes live in cells without harming them. Most viruses reproduce in specific cells of certain organisms. Viruses are gears or Earth's means of defense when attacked. We will continue on the next, and we will be talking about tablet 9, which is the evolutionary process. Thank you for joining. Please like, share, please study, take notes, because that was a lot of information. I will be going over it by next year. You have a whole year to really get this out. This is the news. This is the gospel. This is the good news. Learning about who you are. This is the Christ.